Welcome to Star Trek Discovery Season 1 Recap. But before we start the recap, I want to let you guys know that I have recapped more series on this channel and will continue to recap a lot more. So if you enjoyed that type of content, consider subscribing to this channel. Alright, let's get back to the recap. Premise: Star Trek Discovery is set roughly a decade before the events of the original Star Trek series, and follows the crew of the USS Discovery during the Federation Klingon War of 2256. Let's start recapping. Investigating a damaged satellite near a binary star system on the edge of Federation space, the crew members of the USS Shenzhou discover an object obscured from their sensors. After First Officer Michael Burnham volunteers to investigate the object, she finds an ancient carved vessel. She's then attacked by a Klingon, and when trying to escape, she accidentally kills him. A group of Klingons mourn the death of their soldier, dubbed the Torchbearer, before the outcast Vok volunteers to take his place. The Klingons, led by T'Kuvma, reveal themselves in a cloakable ship. T'Kuvma preaches to his followers of the Federation's attempts to usurp the individuality of the Klingons and their culture, and plans to fulfill an ancient prophecy by uniting the 24 great Klingon houses, as was once done by KLS. Vok then activates a beacon that summons the Klingon leaders. Burnham, desperate to prevent the war, attempts to fire on the Klingons first, against the wishes of Captain Philippa Georgiou. It is then that Burnham is arrested for mutiny. T'Kuvma convinces the majority of the Klingon leaders that he can lead them to victory over the Federation, as reinforcements for the Shenzhou arrive. Georgiou offers to resolve the situation peacefully, but the Klingons immediately open fire. Starfleet Admiral Anderson arrives and again offers peace to the Klingons, but his ship is rammed by another cloaked Klingon vessel. Anderson has his ship self-destruct, destroying the Klingon ship as well. Starfleet then retreats, leaving the Klingons to collect their dead. In the remains of the Shenzhou, Burnham escapes her cell after encouragement from her guardian Sarek via a telepathic connection. She convinces Georgiou to try to take T'Kuvma prisoner, and they create a distraction by sending an explosive onto his ship with a Klingon corpse. Boarding the vessel, Burnham overpowers Vok, while Georgiou attempts to capture T'Kuvma, but is killed. T'Kuvma is then fatally shot by Burnham, who is transported to safety. Vok promises that T'Kuvma's legacy will live on, while Burnham is sentenced to life in prison for her mutiny. 6 months into her sentence, Burnham is on an unexpected prison transfer when an emergency forces her shuttle to be rescued by the USS Discovery. Spending several days on the ship, Burnham is ordered by its captain, the mysterious Lorca, to assist with the scientific assignment. Burnham overhears Lieutenant Paul Stamets, an astromycologist who is leading the assignment, discuss an upcoming experiment with a colleague serving on another starship. Lorca is soon informed of an incident on the Discovery's sister ship, the USS Glenn, that has killed the entire crew. Stamets leads a boarding party to investigate and finds the death crew hideously twisted and malformed, as well as a group of Klingons killed by an unknown creature. Lorca later asks Burnham to work for him, despite her sentence, explaining that he organized the circumstances that led her to him, so she could help him develop a new spore-based propulsion system that could win the war she started by killing T'Kuvma. He then secretly has the creature transported aboard the Discovery. Lorca assigns Burnham to study the creature from the Glen, dubbed a tardigrade, to find a way to use its biology as a weapon. Starfleet then orders Discovery to the dilithium mining colony Korvan 2, which is under Klingon attack. Stamets is reluctant to make such a long jump using the spores, and when the drive is activated, the ship nearly collides with the star. Lorca then sends Commander Landry to keep Burnham's research on track, and she attempts to sedate the tardigrade, which she calls Ripper, to cut off its claw, but it attacks her. Burnham believes that it was acting in self-defense and is drawn to the spores. Stamets and Burnham transport it to engineering, where it connects to the spore drive and interfaces with the navigation system. The ship successfully makes a jump to Korvan 2 and saves the colony. On T'Kuvma's stranded ship, Klingon leader Kol earns the loyalty of T'Kuvma's desperate followers and leaves Vok to die in the wreckage of the Shenzhou. L'Rell, secretly loyal to Vok, promises a way for them to win the war for the house of T'Kuvma. After a month of successful operations, Lorca is ordered to protect the spore drive until it can be replicated for other Starfleet ships. As he returns to the Discovery, Lorca is taken captive by the Klingons. Meanwhile, Burnham has grown concerned with the toll that the drive has taken on Ripper. Along with Stamets' partner, Medical Officer Hugh Culber, Burnham convinces Stamets to find an alternative to run the drive. On the Klingon ship, Lorca is imprisoned with captured Starfleet officer Ash Tyler and human criminal Harry Mudd. He is then tortured by L'Rell, who wants the secret behind Discovery's new form of travel, but Lorca and Tyler escape before the Klingons learn anything. For the final jump needed to escape the Klingons, with Lorca and Tyler on board, Stamets connects to the spore drive himself, using Ripper's DNA, at the cost of his own health, and eventually Burnham frees Ripper. On his way to broker a peace deal with renegade Klingon houses, Sarek is injured when a logic extremist attempts to assassinate him. Burnham senses this, and Lorca agrees to rescue Sarek. Admiral Katrina Cornwell questions this decision and others that Lorca has been making recently. Burnham searches for Sarek in a shuttle with her roommate, Cadet Sylvia Tilly and Tyler. She then attempts to connect with Sarek's mind and finds him remembering the time that her application for the Vulcan Expeditionary Group was rejected. She learns that the VEG would only admit one of Sarek's children, and he chose Spock, his half-human son. Spock ultimately chose to join Starfleet, rendering Sarek's decision futile. Burnham eventually helps him regain consciousness and activate a locator beacon. Meanwhile, Lorca and Cornwell sleep together, but she is concerned by his paranoid behavior and plans to remove him from command of the Discovery. With Sarek unable to meet the Klingons, Cornwell takes his place. However, the peace talks are actually a trap, and she is taken captive. While attending a crew party, Burnham and Tyler are called to the bridge to deal with an endangered space creature that the Discovery has come across. When the creature is brought on board, it is revealed to be carrying a person, Harry Mudd. He plans to kill Lorca and sell the ship to the Klingons, but when he is caught, he blows up the ship instead. Time returns to the party earlier, with Burnham and Tyler called to the bridge again. They are intercepted by Stamets, who is aware that they are in a time loop due to his interactions with Ripper. Over several time loops, Stamets works with Burnham and Tyler to find a solution to the problem, while Mudd gets further in his plan each time. They eventually convince Mudd that he has won, and he ends the time loop, preparing to receive a boarding party of Klingons. However, Mudd is instead confronted by his beloved Stella and her father, from whom he had stolen her dowry, and they take him away. Coming to the aid of another Federation ship, the Discovery is unable to prevent the ship's destruction by a Klingon ship with cloaking technology. Desperate for a way to detect these ships, even when they are cloaked, Burnham, Tyler and Saru are sent to Pavo, a seemingly uninhabited planet with a naturally occurring crystalline transmitter that broadcasts the planet's vibrational frequency into space. They hope to use the transmitter to create a sonar for the hidden Klingon ships. There they discover that Pavo is inhabited with indigenous life that introduce Saru to their higher understanding of peace, and he attempts to force Burnham and Tyler to remain with him on the planet forever. Burnham is able to fight off Saru and broadcast the new signal. However, the Pavo lifeforms adjust the signal to contact the Klingons as well, hoping to end the war. Cole receives the signal after sentencing L'Rell to death, since she has tried to help Cornwell escape in exchange for protection from Cole, leading to L'Rell apparently killing Cornwell to try to save face with Cole. Lorca is ordered to flee before the Klingons arrive, but disobeys to protect the lifeforms on Pavo and improve their chances of detecting the cloaked ships. When the Klingons arrive, Tyler and Burnham transport to their ship and plant sensors that will help create an algorithm for detecting the cloaked ships. They find an alive Cornwell hidden with L'Rell, but encountering the latter sends Tyler into shock due to the torture and rape she subjected him to. Lorca then has Stamets make 133 microjumps in order to provide a 3-dimensional reading of the sensors, while Burnham distracts Cole by challenging him to a fight. The jumps are completed, though not without trauma to Stamets. When the algorithm is calculated, Burnham, Tyler, Cornwell and L'Rell, who wishes to defect, are transported back to the Discovery and the Klingon ship is destroyed. Stamets volunteers to make one more jump to safety, but tells Lorca it will be his last. However, Lorca changes the coordinates and they jump to an unknown destination, surrounded by debris from Klingon ships. Discovery's crew determines that they have arrived in a mirror universe, with Stamets now unconscious and unable to power the spore drive. Tyler confronts L'Rell and she attempts to use verbal cue to trigger something within him, but he fights this off. From a data core from a wrecked Klingon ship, they learn that this universe is ruled by the human Terran Empire, who are fighting a resistance that includes species such as Klingons and Vulcans. In this universe, Burnham is the former captain of the Mirror Shenzhou, presumed dead after an attack by the fugitive Lorca, and the Discovery is captained by Sylvia Tilly's mirror counterpart, so the Prime Tilly and the crew pretend to be their mirror selves. They deliver Burnham and Lorca to the Shenzhou under the ruse that Burnham had been hunting Lorca since her presumed death and now had captured him. Tyler accompanies them after first killing Culber when he informs Tyler that he appears to have undergone major surgical modifications. On the Shenzhou, Lorca is tortured while Burnham assumes command. The Mirror Shenzhou is given the coordinates of the Resistance leadership and ordered to kill them all. Burnham and Tyler travel as a landing party themselves and instead surrender to the Resistance in hopes of learning how the Klingons of this universe have learned to work with other species, when they find out that the Mirror Vogue is actually the leader. Burnham offers to give the group time to escape before their base is destroyed, with Mirror Sarek confirming she can be trusted after performing a mind meld. Listening to Vogue somehow triggers Tyler's programming and he has to be restrained. Back on the ship, he reveals to Burnham that he now knows he was once Vogue, and that he underwent surgery to appear human and infiltrate Starfleet. She then has him beamed into space, where he is picked up by the Prime Discovery. Saru and Tilly imprison him, having earlier found the body of Culber. Meanwhile, Burnham is reprimanded for not killing the Resistance leaders immediately by the Emperor, the mirror version of Giorgio. Burnham and Lorca are summoned to the Karen, the Imperial flagship. Giorgio sends Lorca to a torturous agony booth and has dinner with Burnham. Meanwhile, Stamets finds himself within the mycelial network with the consciousness of his mirror counterpart, learning that the network has been corrupted by the mirror Stamets' experiments. Stamets encounters a representation of Culber and accepts his loss, before waking up to find his spore collection infected. Giorgio recounts allowing Lorca to become a father figure for Burnham, only for the pair to fall in love and plot to overthrow her. She plans to execute Burnham, who reveals the truth about being from another universe. Explaining how they had crossed over, Giorgio traced the spore drive's schematics for information on alternative ways to cross between universes, which leads Burnham to realize that the Lorca she knows is actually from the mirror universe, and has been manipulating events to get close to her and back to the mirror universe. It is then that Lorca escapes from his agony booth. Lorca frees his old crew, who have been tortured since his disappearance, and with the help of Mirror Stamets, they are able to kill those loyal to Giorgio and usurp her throne. She goes into hiding, while Burnham also evades capture and contacts the Discovery. They agree to a plan in which Burnham lowers the containment field around a large energy source originating from the mycelial network. The Discovery will then arrive to destroy the energy source, causing an explosion which they can ride into the mycelial network, with Stamets navigating them home. Giorgio agrees to help Burnham and they attack Lorca's group. Rejected and defeated by Burnham, Lorca is killed by Giorgio, who offers to sacrifice herself to allow Burnham's escape. However, Burnham instead takes Giorgio with her as they are beamed to the Discovery and the Karen is destroyed. Back in their own universe, the Discovery learns that they have arrived 9 months after they left, and in the meantime, the Klingons have nearly won the war. The Discovery is boarded by Cornwell and Sarek, who explain that the Klingon houses remain divided and fight between themselves to see which can destroy more Federation assets. The only safe refuge for Starfleet beyond Earth is now Starbase 1, and they warp there with Cornwell assuming command. After emergency surgery performed by L'Rell, Tyler now has his personality back, but can still access Vogue's memories. Despite everything, Burnham is still unable to forgive his actions as Vogue. Arriving at Starbase 1, the crew finds it conquered by a Klingon house, and the remainder of Starfleet's command withdraws to protect Earth. Giorgio then tells Burnham that she defeated the Klingons in the mirror universe with a surprise attack on their homeworld of Kronos, and Cornwell agrees to replicate that event. To jump into Klingon territory, Stamets terraforms a desolate moon to grow a new crop of spores so they can use the spore drive. Giorgio then tells Sarek and Cornwell of other essential information she has, and they have her pose as captain to lead the mission. Tyler suggests that a drone enter Kronos' underground dormant volcanic system to covertly search the planet for targets. Discovery then jumps to Kronos, and a party of Giorgio, Burnham, Tilly and Tyler pose as traders. Tilly discovers that the volcanic system is active and that the drone Giorgio has is actually a hydro bomb. Burnham confronts Cornwell, who admits that detonating the bomb in the active volcano will annihilate all life on Kronos, winning them the war. Burnham insists that Starfleet does not commit genocide and convinces Giorgio to give up the detonator in exchange for her freedom. They give the detonator to L'Rell, who uses the threat of mass destruction to unite the Klingon houses under her leadership and end the war. The Discovery crew are hailed as heroes, and Burnham is issued a full pardon and restored to the rank of commander, while Tyler chooses to remain with L'Rell. As Discovery warps to Falcon to pick up its new captain, it receives a distress call from Captain Pike of the USS Enterprise. Thank you all for watching, and see you on the next recap.